Love this setup more than anything. All right, last week was insane. We literally had 190 million in volume on Friday, which is ridiculous because on average it's around that 80 to 90 mark. And throughout this chop that we've seen a lot over the last few months, it's been around that 60 to 80 million in volume. So to have 190 million in volume on Friday is ridiculous. And that's directly related to mostly the Silicon Valley bank collapse, second largest in the U.S. history, which is unbelievable. But we won't spend too much time on that. I'm sure you've already heard about it all over social media. Everybody's trying to get views and clicks. So let's get right into trading and what can actually be beneficial. But I'm looking at the support line around that 384.50 where it bounced. And then I see another one around this 380 mark. So I'm really looking for that 380 test. This is a really big drop with a lot of volume. I'm assuming that we'll see some sort of green a little bit here, like one of these little small candles before another fade down. My ultimate price target goal is this 375, maybe a little bit above it around that 376-ish, 377 area. I would look for a little bit of a bounce around those levels as well. So I have these three, one at 380, one at 376, 50, and then obviously if we break below that 384. But I don't expect it to be completely sold off all day long. Again, I don't think that we're just going to get these massive sells forever. We could get a gap down, but if we get a gap down, I'm looking for a nice little jump up. So here are the three levels on the SPY that I'm watching: 384.50, 380 if we break below that, and then 376 worst case scenario. On the weekly chart of the SPY, looks pretty ugly here. It's a really bearish engulfing pattern. I could see us having like a little small green week up to this 390-ish, maybe up to this 392 off of this support line that it's bounced off of. But after that, I feel like there's going to be a nice little pullback down. You can see this 375. This weekly chart is my bottom Bollinger Band. So I would expect it to hit that a little bit. We can see. I would love to see this below 350, honestly, and it might happen as you can start to see this volume start picking up. Usually on big sell days, you see this volume spike like that. But even on those big volume spike sell days, there is, once it starts to sell off, you see some big green candles in there. So don't be surprised to see some buying come in here. We are down very large recently. But if we do bounce at any given point, here are my bottom worst case scenario levels for SPY. So here's my resistance level. My resistance level here is right around this 391.50, 392-ish area. If we can bounce at that 384. We're at 386 right now at the close. So on Friday, we could see a little bit of a spike up there before we see that leg down. So here's the levels. We got that 392 on the upside. If we are bullish, then we have the 384.50 support line, below that 380, and then 376. So hopefully those SPY levels help you out here. I'll do some analysis on the QQQ. Very bearish engulfing, and I think there's a lot more room down for this one. So we could start, especially with Silicon Valley, it's directly related to technology stocks. So we could see this kind of push back down to this 261. I would love to see that. Probably like a 280 level first and then that 270 test. But if we are bullish whatsoever, I am still loving Meta. I love this setup more than anything. If we can get this bounce off this downtrend, I've been talking about this forever. If you break out of these little bull flags or whatever situation this may be, you see a breakout and then you see a retest of the downtrend before we bounce. Now, the market may pull this down a little further, and in that way, it would cancel out, and I probably wouldn't take the trade if the market is extremely weak. We'll see where we open up, but now this week we have a little bit room down on this level to around 175, 176. At that point, I might start dabbling into a couple weeks out, maybe a month or two out, and then play those 190 calls, maybe closer to the money. But I think with this top here, usually most of the time when you retest this, you'll get a nice bounce play to go to the high of the day or the high of the week or high of the whatever it may be, whatever time frame you're looking at. So I'm looking for this bounce at this level. I still think that the market gets weak. This is obviously all my analysis and my opinion, but if the market is weak, we gap down a little bit, and so does Facebook/Meta, whatever you call it, down to 176. I'm going to take some calls, I think, because if we gap down, we'll probably gap fill up on the market, and then I feel like Meta could run. This is so beautifully set up, but we will just have to wait and see. If there's too much negative pressure and this breaks below 175, this is probably going to head down towards the support level, and then the bull flag will be broken. But a risk to reward, I am willing to risk because this is one of the most beautiful setups I've seen in a really long time. That's the weekly. Here's the daily, same situation. We could see that 176-ish, 177, and then I'm looking for that bounce. So we'll see what happens. That's really kind of my big opportunity so far. That's really my main watch, is that Meta drop, or that Meta jump, but I do like the downside a lot this week. So if there's any sort of bullish news, I'm looking all in on Meta. Nvidia kind of broke down this uptrend. I was looking at this earlier today, so I'll remove this and draw it again. So here's a little bit of the uptrend that we were watching. So it kind of bounced above this. Maybe it'll bounce one more time and try to go for that 240, but this looks pretty weak to me. And there's a lot of room down from this level at 225. So we could see that 225 level again from where it bounced prior. And then this is like kind of the gap fill, really down to 211. So the video has a lot of room to fall if it starts catching weakness. So if we do start to die and Meta doesn't play out, I'll look for some SPY puts. I'll look for QQQ puts because I feel like the QQQ is a little bit better set up for more downside to come. And then that 211 area for NVIDIA as well. So those are really all I'm watching this week. We have FDX earnings. Earnings are kind of fading out. So the really all I'm watching, if we are bullish, I really would love to see. Actually, let's talk about this. The most perfect setup is we gap down to those levels that I've been talking about, around that 280 mark or 380 on the SPY, and on the QQQ, maybe that 280-ish mark, 285. And we start to see a little bit of a bounce consolidation, which would allow Meta to run. So if we can get that bounce on a red day tomorrow, hopefully we open red, and don't be surprised to see some green levels though. So the market's a little shaky, but the best opportunity I'm seeing right now is NVIDIA on the downside if we're weak, Meta on the upside if we are strong. So pay attention to that. I'm assuming that we will see a little bit of a spike up, but we do have inflation data on Tuesday, so just be careful holding anything overnight, especially on a Monday, because I think it's going to chop tomorrow as it usually does. So not the best trading days on Mondays, but we'll see what is in store for us, and hopefully we can get a really great opportunity, whether it's in Meta or whether it's in some puts on NVIDIA or SPY. But hope these levels help you out. If you have any questions on them, please don't hesitate to reach out. Tesla, again, I have to talk about this always. Bearish engulfing over here. Starting to see some buyers here, a lot of volume, but my target zone is around this 160-ish area. So Tesla could also be weak. We're in a downtrend there, and we just broke out of this little chop level it's been in for weeks. So that's all I got. I got SPY levels. I got QQQ a little bit there. Introduced Meta, best setup out there. So if we're bullish, watch out for that big run. I think that's gonna be my golden ticket this week. Positioning for a couple weeks out and just letting it rock if we are green, and then NVIDIA on the downside as well. So hope that helps out. Maybe you have another crushing week. Hopefully everybody's making a ton of money out here. Even if the market's going down, there's ways to make money. So Friday was one of my good days, and I'm going to try to keep that going. And if Meta does what I think it's going to do, I'm going to have one of my biggest trading days year to date. So let's crush it. Let's get after it. If there's anything you need, please reach out. Like I always say, I will answer any sort of message, email, comment, whatever you want. Very responsive. So I hope that helps you out, and let's get after it.